So I figured I'd just pop in and do a quick hit episode. Hadn't really planned on doing an episode, so I didn't do too much research. But these New Jersey drones, man. These New Jersey drones. Everybody's talking about it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do some research. Maybe I'll get around to talking about it. But then I was listening to the Tim Dillon show, and he's talking to Joe Rogan on it. And they're like talking about it. And then I kind of was like, hey. It's funny because to me, I was like, oh, maybe since Biden and Kamala just got called back to the White House for whatever reason that we don't know, they had to stop whatever they were doing. I mean, Joe Biden had to stop sniffing kids, and Kamala had to stop drinking wine or whatever she does as the vice president that nobody knows. Anyways, they got called back to the White House. Biden's been trying to get World War III going for like at least a year within Ukraine and Russia. So I was thinking, hey, if you're going to fight an unmanned World War III, because that's basically, from the U.S. perspective, this war in Ukraine has been unmanned because they've had no boots on the ground, but they've been giving them like, well, now they're like authorized them to use their missiles and stuff, but they've just been like, gave them a blank check worth of equipment and weapons to use. I mean, that might be because the U.S. just wants to like get rid of their like old dusty equipment that they've been keeping in a warehouse somewhere. It's like, you know, when you have like a rich relative and they give you their old furniture that's still really nice, and you're like, why would you get rid of this furniture? It's all perfectly good. It's still really nice. And they're like, I just want new stuff and I don't want to feel like I'm wasting it. Or more correctly, it's not that they give a fuck about wasting it because they're giving it to you for free because that's a waste. They just don't want to have to pay to take it to the dump. Or if you're the U.S., you don't want to have to decommission all these weapons and like pay someone full wages to pull them apart. Why don't you just give them to Ukraine and they can shoot them at Russian troops? And then Halliburton and all the other weapons manufacturers that are Joe Biden's friends, they could just make more. And then they can make, everybody makes a little bit of money. Ukraine gets to shoot some guns. You know what it is? So anyways, it's been this unmanned war, as in there's no U.S. troops. And the next escalation of unmanned war is robots or drones. So I was thinking, hey, maybe these drones off the coast of New Jersey and above New Jersey, and apparently maybe in LA. I just saw a TikTok about it, but it looked an awful lot like a Star Wars ship just superimposed on a shot of LA. And that's the problem with all this. Like, you have the US of like government saying they're not ours, they're not our enemies. We don't know what they are. We don't think they're aliens. So nobody knows what they are, but everybody says they see them and all this stuff. Like, the reason I say they see them because I'm not in New Jersey, so I haven't seen them with my eyeballs. And AI is getting pretty good at making fake stuff. And there's a lot. The guy at work, this just happened. He's like, dude, check this out. And he shows me this, I guess it was like a spherical drone or something. He's like, the pilot shot this from the cockpit. It was like in a field. I was like, dude, that circle is a higher resolution than the background. That is obviously fake. And he was like, oh, no, it's real. So even though I may have a keen eye sometimes, like I'm not unfoolable. I've been fooled many times by AI pictures and now videos. I totally lost her. Oh, yeah. So the reason I'm saying supposedly is not because I don't believe that there's drones there. It's just that I haven't seen them. But enough people have said they're there to think they're there. So I'm thinking what's happening right now is Joe Biden got called back to the White House. He's working on how to call, like, he only has a month left to get World War III started before Trump goes in and stops the war in Ukraine, because that was like his main campaign promise. Will he do it? We don't know. He could. He might not. But the one thing that Joe Biden knows is it could happen. And then what if there's all these shenanigans behind the scenes that get bubbled up to the surface. And I know you guys are saying Joe Biden isn't really mentally there enough to care about any of this, but when I say Joe Biden, I don't mean Joe Biden is trying to start a war. Like, I don't think Joe Biden is coherent enough to care. I think it's whoever's ruling in his stead, like the committee that is actually running the states under his name, they're the ones who care. And since that's such a long sentence, I'll just say Joe Biden from now on. So anyways, Joe Biden, a.k.a. the committee who's actually running everything behind the scenes. See, it's kind of clunky. So he's trying to start World War III with Russia. I don't know why. Lindsey Graham said on separate occasions there's like $14 trillion of rare earth minerals in Ukraine. Then another time he said there was 2. Then another time he said there's 7. But I guess it's a fair guess that there's trillions and trillions of dollars of rare earth minerals under Ukraine. Also, all of Russia's natural gas goes through Ukraine before it goes to the Europe, which is a dumb system if you're Russia. Like, why would you send it through Ukraine? That's like a choke point. But I guess that is another reason why Russia was so mad when the States, 5 days before the invasion started, invited Ukraine to go. Well, they didn't say they invited them, but it was an implied invitation when Kamala Harris went to speak in Munich. Sorry if I'm like jumping all over the place. It's just I didn't do research, so I don't have notes, and I'm kind of just like going free flow, if you know what I mean. And anyways, I talked about it, I think. Yeah, I talked about it on the Dale, or not the Dale Show, on Outrage Factory. That Kamala Harris did a speech at Munich. It was like a United Nations thing or something. It was some gathering, and she spoke there, like, and then 5 days later, Putin invaded. Yeah, so anyways, they have like a month to get this shit kicking. So before you start World War III or whatever, you're going to want to make sure your equipment's dusty. You're going to want to check your guns, maybe give them a bit of oil, maybe make sure they're sighted in. Or if you're going to use a bunch of drones, you're going to want to make sure they work. And you're going to want to see how invisible they are to fucking radar and all this stuff. And then, like, how interactive they are with, like, the energy of equipment around them. Like, people are saying that they go, like, local law enforcement has said that they try to go up to these drones and then they turn their lights off. And then they can't really find them in the sky again. They're saying they're not giving off, like, a heat signature, so you can't lock onto them with like gauging equipment and stuff. Or, are you with me here? They don't give off heat, so heat-seeking missiles won't be able to target them. I mean, the more these people talk about these drones and how they don't know what they are, they can't figure them out, they can't get a good reading on them, the better of a weapon it sounds. And then you're like, Dale, where would the U.S. get the money for these weapons? That sounds expensive. And then I just would like to refer you to the Pentagon audit that they failed again this year for the 7th year in a row. And that was this year alone. Or I guess it would have been last year because they audit for the year after it happened. So anyways, they failed the yearly audit and it was $824 billion. And they failed this 7 years in a row. And I'm sorry, I didn't look up the exact number of the budget per year for the Pentagon, but I'm guessing it's either $824 billion each year or a little bit less than that. And the other thing is, you're like, well, Dale, that's only 7 years. That's only, quick math, like $5.5 trillion. Is that enough to build a drone army? But the reason that it's failed for 8 years or 7 years is because that's when they started doing the audits of the Pentagon. Before, like, 2018, they didn't give a fuck. Well, they probably gave a fuck, but they were just like, meh. And then they passed this law. They're like, all right, we got to start making these audits of the Pentagon so we can find out where all this money goes. And then they gave them, like, some 10 years. So in, like, They're like, in 10 years, you have to be able to tell us where this money's going. And then this last one, the Pentagon failed. They're like, all right, we failed this one, but we're pretty sure. We're like 63.5% sure we're going to. Actually, no, we're totally 98% sure that by 2028 we will pass these audits, because I guess when they made the law, they're like, you have to be able to pass these laws within 10 years. So that's where the money's coming from, that I would guess. And then you're like, well, Dale, everybody's saying that these drones, they run for 5 hours long, and that's way too long for drones to run, especially ones the size of an SUV, which is a weird thing to say. But they keep saying, they're like, it's the size of an SUV. It's the size of an SUV. Like, okay, we get it. Do you not have other units of measure? You can't just say, like, what, 15 feet round? Because they're all different shapes, apparently. There's, like, some that are circles, some that are elongated and look like craft. There's some that look like airplanes. And I don't know if you've ever seen a SUV, but there's a difference. And they don't look like either a circle or an airplane. And I'm guessing these drones, the ones that are circles and the ones that are airplanes, aren't the same size. And I mean, this is kind of my fault, because I could have looked it up and I could have got specific dimensions of these drones, but I didn't. I'm just kind of going off all the various podcasts I listen to, which is, I mean, I guess the best you could say about what I'm telling you is, instead of doing research, I'm just giving you a summation of what I've heard on other podcasts. But yeah. Oh yeah, so I was talking about the power, sorry. This is very hard by me myself. I know you all know that, especially without notes, because my mind wanders, and I'm not I'm not like Trump. I can't just jump back into the weave. I do forget where I'm going. But I was talking about the size, and I was talking about how are they going to power these? Because they're saying like 5 hours is way too long for drones. But since we're developing new technology that's like 20 years ahead of what the people know, what the public knows about, or what the consumers or like businesses know, how advanced do you think their technology would be for nuclear? Like, one of the things about stuff like this and conspiracies, and I guess, and stuff, is the best way to, like, I guess, craft your own conspiracy is to kind of pay attention to what's being said, and you pull pieces of, and it's almost like cherry picking, because you just pick different things that people have said that kind of backs up and gives you confirmation bias. But so we have all this AI. This is relatable, I promise. So we have all this AI, and then you're like, wow, that's cool. We can make pictures on the internet. And then you find out that this AIs use server farms, or these giant computers that are sucking huge tons of energy. And then you find out Bill Gates wants to boot up a part of 3 Mile Island. It's not the part that like melted down and got shut down, but it's the other part. So he wants to set up 3 Mile Island. And you're like, yeah, why aren't we fucking doing nuclear power? That was always the wave of the future. We figured out how to make it not wasteful. Let's use nuclear power. And they're like, okay, we don't want to use nuclear power. Like Germany just like got rid of all their nuclear power and went to coal or something because they got, I don't know. Because there was this whole thing like 10 years ago where they're like, nuclear power is bad for the environment when it doesn't make any gas or anything. But I guess you have to figure out what to do with the like nuclear waste and stuff. But I guess maybe they advanced that because now, I mean, Germany can have nuclear power plants, but Bill Gates gets to like run two to run his AI farms for Microsoft. That doesn't make sense. Like, shouldn't we allow, like, Germany just gets boned all the time. Like, they blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and that was straight to Germany, and it was like right before winter, and then we're like, hey, Germany, fucking suck it. I guess we just blew up your pipeline, and now you have to pay a huge amount for natural gas, so you can't heat your homes or whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, remember when we tricked you into shutting down all your nuclear power plants so that You would have to buy gas from Russia in the first place. Well, guess what we're doing? We're spooling ours back up, baby, because this fucking nerd with the glasses and the fucking sweater vest, he needs his computers to run. And that's more important than you and your dumb homes. So we're going to spool them up and we're going to let them run these farms. Or we're going to need all, like, this there's always the weird thing where Joe Biden was like, we're going to go to pure electric cars, and you're like, well, that's weird because you're going to have to rehaul all the infrastructure. But was he just trying to get like the situation where he could turn around and be like, look, we have all these electric cars, we're going to need to spool up these nuclear power plants so that we can make nuclear batteries for our drones, and nobody will be able to detect them and their nuclear signature, because I guess like nuclear energy gives off, like, I don't know, I guess it's like this thing where you can like detect nuclear radiation or whatever. But if you're spooling up all these power plants, you could just be like, that's not some new secret weapon that you don't know about. That is these power plants. And then one of the other things about these drones is, one of the rumors was that they were looking for like a dirty bomb, which is vague and weird, but basically when they say dirty bomb, it is a nuclear bomb that's the size of a suitcase that you can carry around or somebody can smuggle around. So they're saying, like, some people were like, I think it was what was it on? Oh yeah, it was on, was it Tucker Carlson? I can't remember what podcast it was on, but they're like, somebody I know knew somebody who said, oh, it was on Tucker Carlson, I think. Yeah, anyways. So they're like, somebody I know knew somebody who said that one of these nuclear warheads, sorry, that's just the tip of the bomb, it's not the actual bomb. They were like, it's unaccounted for. So they think it ended up in New Jersey. And you're like, okay. I mean, if it went to the States, why? Okay, this is just me, and I'm not really too familiar with like international espionage. But if I'm smuggling the tip of a bomb that you can look for with drones, I'm not taking it to the most densely populated part of the US. I'm going to fucking Wyoming or something where you wouldn't be able to find it because it's forests. Anyways, I don't think that's what they're doing. I think when they say we're trying to detect the nuclear signature of this bomb, I think they're trying to be like, hey, let's see if we can detect the nuclear energy of these drones. So to me, what they're probably doing is like, the reason that there's different versions of these drones is maybe they have scout drones, maybe they have attack drones. Maybe they send up drones that are powered with nuclear batteries, and then they send up like another drone to sense if they can sense that nuclear power. I.e., if you send these drones to the Ukraine war in Russia, will Russia be able to detect these fucking drones? There you go. That's the whole nuclear thing. Yeah, because and another thing is, like, I was listening to the President's Daily Brief with Mike Baker. It's like the sweet podcast where he does like a couple minutes. And he said this totally unrelated thing that made no sense to me, and I hadn't even put it together with this. But he was saying that Ukraine has this new laser gun that they're going to try. And you're like, I guess. I mean, if you're going to test a new weapon out, why wouldn't you test it in this Ukraine proxy war? I mean, they could turn it into the Spanish Civil War. Like, that's what yeah. Sorry, I was just looking. Okay, so sorry, I just got a warning pop up on my computer about insufficient memory or whatever, because I'm terrible house cleaning with my digital devices and stuff. So I'll keep this short. Like, I wanted to just pop in for a couple minutes, and it's already been like 18. So anyways, so this is my last point anyway. So these drones, so Ukraine has this like laser that they can shoot down missiles and stuff, and they got it from the UK. And the UK wasn't supposed to have this like production ready until like 2033 or something, but the Ukraine's going to have it ready to go by next year. And you're like okay, whatever. They have this like laser that shoots like a beam that I guess is concentrated heat and can blow up missiles in the sky. And you're like, that's cool, I guess. There's certainly ways you could shoot at missiles from that. But you know what else would be cool? And you would need to power these missiles. Well, wouldn't it make sense to have these drones that have way more power and battery life than we thought possible for drones? If you're going to have a laser weapon, wouldn't you want it on one of those drones up in the air where you could shoot down missiles? So, I mean, I'm just grasping at straws here, but nobody's telling us anything. So, hey, let's just grasp at straws. So, what I think the New Jersey drones are they are combat drones that they plan to send to the Ukraine to fight Russia. There you go. We'll see if Biden can get his shit together and get this stuff launched before President Trump takes over in 2025, January 20th. But hey, who knows? Maybe Trump will like see these fucking cool ass drones and be like, "Whoa, we got nuclear powered drones that shoot fucking lasers at missiles? Hell yeah, let's go fucking blow some shit up. What else are we gonna do? Fucking drop 20,000-pound bombs on apartment buildings? That's dumb. World hates that. How much cooler would it be if we got these fucking sexy ass futuristic drones shooting lasers out of the sky?" This isn't going to be a full Dale Show episode, and it's going to be just me, so it might be weird if you're watching the video of this and you just see just my big, freshly haircutted head and not Jeff's beside me. But I kind of had some free time today. The girlfriend took the kid to Alberta. I was supposed to fly there to meet him today, but apparently I'm just such a scatterbrain that my driver's license expired on my birthday 5 months ago, and I never do anything exciting enough to need my driver's license, so I didn't even know. And I went up to the gate. It was hilarious. I was like, hey, well, it wasn't hilarious. It was kind of like embarrassing because I walk up. I'm like, hey, yeah, here's my thing. And they're like, driver's license? And he shows me. He's like, this expired in July. And I was like, okay. I don't care. He's like, we can't let you on the plane. I was like, what? And it makes total sense. Like, whatever, you can't just let people fly everywhere like we have freedoms or anything. Like, that would be too much to ask. Like, there's a picture on it, so you know it's not fake, but you need valid ID in case I'm some like terrorist or something who doesn't have a driver's license. Anyways, so I had this free time, and I was like playing Call of Duty, and I was like, well, if I do all this all day, I'll feel like a loser. And then I was listening to a couple podcasts, and they were talking about drones. So I was like, I have opinions about drones. I want to talk about drones. And then I was like, well, it's kind of short notice. I don't have enough time to throw together a full The Dale Show podcast. So I was like, I'll just pop in. I'll say hi to the folks. I'll say, hey, Merry Christmas. I've been missing you. Sorry I haven't been around, but I don't have as much time as I used to with the kid. And since these shows take so much prep and preparation, and I just said prep and preparation, which, I mean, you could see where I am mentally from that. But what I mean is, they just take time, and I have a kid, and it's not like, I don't know, it's like, the weird thing about kids is it's not like you can't do things when they're around, it's just that you can't ignore them fully. Like, I can't just sit on my computer and read fucking sweet Wikipedia articles about, like, CIA conspiracies and shit, because then my kid will, like, see what I'm doing and be like, whoa, Dad's looking at the computer. I want to look at the computer. And then she'll start bugging me. And then we're, like, trying to stop, not, like, I don't know, break her brain with too much screen time and stuff. So it's just easier to not be on screens and stuff around them. And then when I finally do get time, like, she goes to have a nap, and I'm like too tired to like you're basically just listening to parent excuses, like you don't have friends who have kids and you're like sick of hearing this. Anyways, long story long, I haven't done a fucking Dale Show since September. Yeah, we haven't done one in a couple months. But if you only listen to the Dale Show and you don't listen to Outrage Factory, come on over to Outrage Factory, because I poached Jeff from this show and I took him to that show because Derek quit because he had a kid too and he doesn't have time enough for it. So if you miss me and Jeff and you're like, finally, some more Dale Show action. Dale, we've missed your voice. You're so sexy and all this stuff, and you're smart and you're not dumb and you don't say words wrong and you're totally good at reading out loud. If that sounds like you right now, just come on over to Outrage Factory. It's in the same YouTube channel as this, but if you're on Spotify listening to this or whatever, you just search up Outrage Factory and it'll come up. They're in two different feeds because whatever. It's because Derek set up Outrage Factory and I set up the Dale Show, and then I didn't have whatever. You know what I mean. But anyways, there's two. If you're listening to this and not watching this, and you want to hear more of me, just go to the Outrage Factory. And the reason I've been doing the Outrage Factory instead is because it's less labor intensive to talk about what's the current events that are going on in the news media and stuff. Or not the news media. Ugh. That sounds boring. That sounds like something you don't want to listen to. It's basically, I mean, there's like maybe one or two of you who aren't familiar with it. Basically, we talk about what people are mad about on the internet, and then we just discuss it. And then, you know me, I can't resist making dick jokes about everything. So that's basically what it is. So anyways, I just wanted to pop in, record my thoughts on the drones, throw it around a bit, whatever. Hey, comment on what you think the drones are. Are they from the United States? Are they from a different country? Are they aliens? Who knows? Nobody's telling us.